Back again and welcome back to another video within this series, but I'm actually going to be starting a new series, putting together a small application based on what we've done so far. But I've actually gone ahead and done a little bit more because the series was sort of like dragging a little bit. It wasn't getting a lot of traction, but I haven't given up on it. I've just been working on a more fully featured version when I'm not online doing the actual framework that we were building. I have built it separately offline. It's available on GitHub as well, so we can, you can go ahead and you could download that as well. And it's not too dissimilar from what we were doing. It's just got a little bit more features in, but it's still a work in progress. But we're at a point now where we can actually start utilizing it, and we're going to be putting a small application, putting a small admin panel together. And I've actually started this, but I'm going to go through it or start over again, starting from the base Twig template to all the method action that we've got in our controllers and all the different part of the application. We're going to go through that again, and you're going to see what we've done so far, plus additional stuff that I have done on the side, which you can now even go and download from GitHub. But we're going to actually be putting a small application together because it was getting a little bit tedious. I mean, building a framework is not easy, guys. It's a lot of work. It requires a lot of dedication, and I'm not just building it for the sake of building. I'm building it because I actually want to use it in a production environment. So I am doing it and going through all the different components online is difficult, but as I said, I haven't given up on it. We're going to be going through it still, just that we're going to be now doing an application where you can see some of the benefits of what we've created, and we can actually start looking through what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to put my screen over so I can demonstrate a little bit of what I've done so far. Obviously it's not finished, but we're going to go back through it. We're going to rebuild it together from scratch and just go from there and build up from there. So let me change my screen over. And that's the application right here that I have actually started to implement. It's basic, generic at the moment. Let's get my screen up properly. Yeah, so this is the application. It's small. It's just, we got a login page, we got a admin panel, we were building out a user controller, but we're going to be doing that from scratch again. I'm going to demonstrate some of what we've done so far. So this is what we've built. I've just added on top of it, and let's have a go and see how it's working. So we got this little front page right here. It's just a index page, and we got two links. We got a login now, and we got a view users. The login now page obviously logs you in, and the view users is where it takes us to our admin controller, which is a protected route. So if we click it, it's going to ask us to log in, and I've got a login which is fake, but this is a login that's got a super admin account, so I'm able to log in and do some CRUD operations on this particular table. If I log in with a normal account, then it would not give me access to the backend, and I will demonstrate that simple. But for the time being, let's log in, and you can see we've implemented that Flash component, and which is what's displaying these messages for us. And so if I close that, you see nothing really happens. It just logs us in, and it starts a session, and it starts a timeout session as well. So if we leave it idle for about 10 minutes, it will log us out. But we won't go through that just yet. But what I'm demonstrating is that I've also put a next login link, and when I click it, you see nothing happens. Well, something did happen, but what's going on in the background is that I'm using middleware to actually check if we're already logged in. If we're already logged in, then we don't want to display that login template again. So So that's what that is doing. That's pretty much just redirecting us away from that login template and just leaving us where we are. So I'm going to click on view users, and this is a simple admin panel that I've been constructing, and you can see all the table that we've done is what we've done in previous videos. I've just gone ahead and added in some UI kit. Well, it's like Bootstrap, but it's UI kit, and it's what I've chosen to use with this particular framework, and it's just laid it out for us nicely in a nice formatted table. We've got some sidebar going on right here. We've got our main menu over here as well. We've got everything right here is being displayed dynamically. There's nothing hard coded right here. Everything is just is coming from our database, right? Even down to our avatar is coming from our database. So some of the stuff that I've gone ahead and done so far is that we can edit, we can delete, and we can add new users to our database table. So I'm going to demonstrate adding someone in, and we're going to call this let's call this person, let's say James Willis. I don't know who James Willis is. It's just a made up name. James Willis at example.com. Put a password for him. And again, my hand touched the enter key and it's just registered that new user. But obviously, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So let's try that again. Let's say James Black. So James Black at example.com. Password in. And at this point, I can actually set the status for this user. By default is always going to be pending, because we've got a activation system which, when we hit that save button, will send an email to this email address, and it will provide a token that you have to click to bring you back to the site, which is going to validate that token and activate your account to active, or set the status to active. But for demonstration purpose, I can click anyone. I can click lock or trash or active. Let's do lock. Save. There you go. That's a message right there display. It disappears afterwards. So if we go back to our table, our main table, and click on publish, we can sort by created date. So we should see them two users that we've just created. If I click publish, you can see we got Jack Black and we got James Black and James Willis. So if we look at their account, edit, you can see we've got the status as locked, which is what we've specified by default. If we go back and click on James Willis, you can see his status is pending. All right. So again, this is just a small application of what I've been doing with what we've done so far, plus additional bits I have added into the new actual framework that you can get on GitHub. It complements what we've done already, so we've already been through this. So you see how you can now see that we're doing the CRUD operation using the same functions and components that we've already been through. So in some of the first videos that we've created, right? Again, there's plenty that we're working on, stuff like delete, but at the moment you will see that it sends a modal request, and I need to add the JavaScript in for that. But we can delete. That's no problem deleting. We can say, if we go on edit, we can change that to delete, to hit that delete route, click enter, and item deleted. That's it. So it's just a matter of setting up modal. We want it to be deleted, so we can confirm delete before we actually go ahead and process that route. It's just an added layer of protection, so you don't make little mistakes or you get a chance to rectify your mistake. But again, we can do whatever we want with this. We can pretty much send it to a separate page and then delete it from there, right? We can add in restore and backup to, if we delete an item, we can restore it back to how it was before. again, the sky is the limit. It comes down purely to how you want to imagine, how you want to do it. Be a little bit creative with how you want to go about designing and developing your admin panel. I said we've got a lot of plans in how I want to go ahead and build this. We're going to be finishing it off, adding in roles and permissions. We're going to be setting up editing roles and adding notes and all different sort of stuff. We've got logs, so we're going to log every request that's made through this component. And again, we're going to implement searching features. Is already built and set up for all of that. It's a matter of us going in and just putting it together. And I'm going to show you some of the class files that I've created, which is actually doing all of this in the background. And I didn't show you edit actually. So if I go on edit, again, Ben, convert to Ben's or Benson, whatever, it all works, it all works. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the controller which is doing all of this, and we're going to recreate it. We're going to build these out from scratch and try and develop it as far as possible, right? So if I get my screen back up again, and we're back into our editor. So if I go to our app directory, go to our controller, go to admin, you see we got our user admin controller, and it's quite a massive file. We've got quite a lot going on in terms of just calling different routes. We've not got a bunch of logic going on because we have our logic being handled somewhere else. Our controller main responsibility is getting that route and processing it. That is it. We're not really doing a lot of logics. So we got dependency injection, which we're loading in our constructor, and we're bringing in all the dependencies that we need for this particular controller, right? Stuff like our index action. This might look familiar to what we've done in some of the last videos where we've declared an arg and we get in that controller.yaml file and we're loading all the settings from that particular file, right? And we've got our table grid, our table data, which is getting our data table. We're passing in that column, that repository, and the argument, and then calling that table method, which is going to render our table for us within our Twig template. And we're simply passing that variable within the template as table. We've got the pagination, we're passing in total records, columns, result, and query search, right? Then we got our new action, which is doing all of our adding stuff to our database. And you can see we got method in our form builder because we've now got a form builder component within this new framework, which is giving us a lot of additional functions so we can build stuff like forms and etc, right? So we're doing little checks right here to check that we got a valid request and the form is submittable. We're checking CSR validation, then we're processing those data and saving it to our database. We got method like validate repository, persist after validation, which means the data coming in get validated, sanitized before it goes anywhere near our database, right? So I'm going to touch on each bit as I go along. Some of it we've already been through, but I'm going to reiterate just to push that point home, right? We've implemented event dispatches, which is dispatching those messages that you were seeing when I hit the save button. That's happening through these events. So we hit save, the event will call the particular method, which is going to show us that message. Again, I'm going to show you exactly what these are doing, how to set them up, and how to utilize them. And I said we've got middleware. So if I close this directory for a minute and go down to middleware, and I've separated them into different directories. So we got after and we got before. So the before middleware is that one that I mentioned about we won't show the login template if we're already logged in, is being handled by this particular middleware. and it's very simple in what it's doing. It's pretty much checking that if we have not already got a session, or if we've already got a session, then we're assuming that we're already logged in. So redirect us away from that login template. That's pretty much all it's doing. But we're going to be adding these in. You're going to see where I've added them in. You're going to see how they work and how we can create, I've created all of these. We will be creating more as we build out the framework a bit more. We're going to add middleware in that's going to help us do certain things. But this is a typical controller file. There's not a lot of logic going on. It's purely just using the components that we've already built and calling methods that we've already created that's going to do the job for us. Alright? So that's pretty much our user controller. We're going to recreate this, and we're going to see step by step what it's doing, because I want you guys to understand all the bits that we've already done. Right? So touch on to our forms, because we've got a form builder component and we're building out our form in separate class files, and I'm going to show you a simple form and see how we're passing that in. So this is look at something a little bit more simple. Look at the client form, look at our security and our login form. Right? So this is a typical form template. It's a class calling login form, and we're extending the client form builder, and we're implementing the client form builder interface, which forces us to use this create method. If I open up my controller file again, let's go to security controller. Now this security controller handles our login page, which we're going to be building from scratch. So you see how we implement a login system within this particular framework, and not just doing it the old way where you place a bunch of code in the header of your page, and then we're not doing it like that. We're doing it fully OOP. So we're going to implement it in the controller file, and we're going to show you how we're calling these particular classes. So scroll down and this is where we're displaying that login form, and this is how we call it in. So we've assigned it the variable form, and we hit in this login form, and we're calling that create form method, and this argument is the route that we're going to be processing the form in. And this security login route is essentially this particular route down here, login action, and that's performing and checking the login is valid before it actually starts a session and log us in. So this login form is a key, and that's declared right here in our container, which is doing our dependency injection. And how I've set this up to work in my framework is that we declare the dependencies that we want for each particular class as an array, as a key value pair array, where the key becomes the property of the actual object. So I can declare the object login form, which is this login form, and I've assigned it a key called login form, and I've essentially just used that key as a property to call the method and pass in the argument, which is security login, which is security is the name of the controller, and login is the route that I want to hit. And the route I want to hit is this login action, which is going to process that login for us. So login form, create form takes two arguments. The first is the action, and the second is a optional argument, which is the repository. And we won't need to use that in every context. We might only want to use it in some places. So this is a typical login form. This is how we declare it. So we're returning this form, passing in the action, and we sort of like chaining on add method onto it. So we got three add method, which is calling email type, password type, and checkbox type. And we got a fourth actually, which is doing the submit type, which is our submit button. And we're just declaring that as an array and passing in the values that we need. But that's pretty much all we're going to be creating all of our forms and then pass it into our controller classes like so, like what we've done right up here. So we won't be building out any form within our Twig template. We're going to be building our form in class files and then call it in just like this. And if I demonstrate into my templates, if I go to the templates directory, go to client and security index, I'll be pretty much just calling form just like that, which is displaying that login form that we just logged in with. That's pretty much it. So as I said, we're going to be starting this over again. We're going, well, just the application bit. We're going to be building it, creating secure logins, creating secure admin panels. We're going to finish build out our user section, and we're pretty much going to be creative as possible, and making it a little bit more and making it somewhat unique and not as standard as most admin panels that you see that just consist of a data table with simple CRUD and edit and delete. We're going to try and be a little bit more creative and add a little bit more features, sort of like a CRM type feature set that we're going to be trying to implement. Adding, we've already got the capabilities of our repository, which allows us to perform full CRUD, because at the end of the day, that's all we're doing, performing CRUD. We're updating, inserting, deleting, and adding stuff to our database consistently or constantly. So we've already got that capabilities, and we've already been through that bit from some of our first videos. So we're going to be implementing that, and I'm going to be doing these videos, and I'm going to release quite a lot at the same time, so you could watch it one after another, so you can, it provides a little bit more consistency in terms of this particular section that I'm going to be focusing on now, right? So that's it, guys. That's what I wanted to get through. We're going to be building this out, so please stay tuned for the follow-up videos. We're going to start off with our base Twig template, which is going to be used across all of our Twig templates. We're going to be building that first, then tackle our login system, then tackle our admin panel, and then work, as we see fit from there on, and try and make it as nice as possible. Right, so thanks, guys. I haven't been around for a little bit, been busy building this framework off screen, so I can get to this point so we can jump ahead a little bit. So please stay tuned. I've got tons more coming up within this particular application build, and the sky's going to be the limit to what we can actually do with it. So please stay tuned, log in for the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Thanks to everyone who's already subscribed. I really appreciate it. So stay tuned, next video coming up very shortly. Thanks and bye.